Okay, the first thing we want to know about scatter plots is that we're going to be looking at correlation. We're also going to be looking at line of best fit, the R value. Remember that your R value, right, the closer it is to a line, the closer it is to 1. In this case, it's really close to a 0.9, right? If it's a negative slope, it's going to be a negative 0.9. But if it's not, if it's a little wider, like this, then we're going to be talking about an R value of being around a negative 0.7. Okay? Because it's wider. Okay? The wider it gets, the closer it gets to nothing, right? The closer it gets to 0, right? So when we're talking about an R value that has pretty wide, right, and it's almost 0 but not quite, right, we're talking about an R value in this case of a negative 0.2. Okay? So in a negative 0.2, because it's a negative slope, we've got a negative 0.7 because it's a negative slope. We've got a positive 0.9 because it's a positive slope very close to the line. Okay? That's what we're looking for here. So just by looking at this, is it positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive. So remember our face, right? Negative, positive, right? The no slope, the 0 slope, y equals, x equals. That's our face of slopes. I know right away that this is a positive. Okay? So this is a positive R. Now how close is it to being a line? Looks pretty close, right? So to me, this is pretty simple. An R value of 0.9.
I put R value 0.9 would be 8, not 0.8.
Or 0.8, it's going to be fine. All right? If we're within 0.2, we're good. You shouldn't have a 0.1 or 1.0. Hardly ever, if never. Okay? Unless it makes a line. If every point makes a line, that's when you have an R value of 1. Okay? An R value of 0 is almost impossible. Okay? You'd have to have a circle. Or a circle within a circle. You know, 2 perfect circles. That's the only way you would get an R value of 1. Okay? Or I mean, an R value of 0. So, an R value of 1 is more likely than it is of 0. Does that make sense? Okay? And so, but there is, the correlation is positive or negative, right? And in this case, it's a strong correlation because it's more than 6. It's more than 7. Anything more than 7 is a strong correlation. Anything less than 7 is a weak correlation. And almost no correlation would be something under 2. Okay? So between 3 and 6, we're talking weak. Between 7 and 9, we're talking strong. Between 2 and 0, we're talking almost nothing. Does that make sense? So this would be a strong, positive correlation. Okay? The next part to this is drawing a line of best fit. The line of best fit is going to be a line that cuts these in half, right? So half of them above and half of them below, okay? So when I do this, right, I kind of want to look and see if I can fit this on so I can actually get it to go through something. Now this, to me, looks really tasty. Now, if you ask me why it looks tasty, I'll tell you why in a minute. But this line works for me. Now, the reason it works for me is I got 3 above, I got 3 below. I got 3 on and below, and so I'm splitting it in half. Half are above, half are below it, right? Now I could have twisted that line a little bit more, right? So the brown one is 1 that we could do. But you could do this green one, right? Which would look a little different, and it would make a different line. We want it to be a little bit more exact, right? And don't worry about where you're going, and just get the line through. Okay? Okay? That's a great line, that green one. Okay? Now, in this case, where do I go through points? I go through a point here and almost nowhere. Oh, here and like nowhere. And that's the biggest problem with that green. Okay? So next we're going to have to work on creating the line, or coming up with the equation of a line.
Is that part of the question? The test question? The equation of the line?
Yes. That's the next part to it. So we got to decide, do we want the green one? Do we want the brown one? I'm going to continue this and put it online. Okay. And then you guys can look at it.
You just need 2 points on the line, right?
Yeah. So I need 2 points. And the reason why I did the brown one, because if you notice on this brown one, it's going through all the points all the time. Does that make sense? So it's actually, I got 2 really easy points. And that's kind of why I'm drawing that line. So now I can actually come up with an equation a lot easier. 1, this is 12, and this is 10, and the difference between them is the difference of x, and that's 2. Okay? Now the other one, the difference is 20, and the difference is 25, so the difference in y is 5. Okay? And so over here, we're going to start with the difference of y over the difference of x is equal to m, which is equal to 5 over 2. And now, we're going to bring that over, spread out a little bit. Yes. And get your midterm too. Yeah.
What midterm?
Can you get her a midterm?
For algebra 2?
Yeah, actually here. Okay, so then I have the slope, and y equals mx plus b. One of my points would be 10 and 20. So I can plug in my x and my y as 20 is equal to m, 5/2 x, which is 10, plus b. And then that would be 50 over 2, which is 25, plus b is equal to 20. And then subtract 5, 25, and I get negative 5 equals b. So y is equal to 5/2 x plus or minus 5. Okay? And so that's how you would find the slope to the line of best fit.